Welcome to the Heart of Herbs Herbal School podcast, where we explore the fascinating world of herbal medicine and natural healing. I'm your host, Demetria Clark, and I'm thrilled to be your guide on this journey of discovery. At Heart of Herbs Herbal School, we're passionate about empowering individuals to harness the power of plants for health and wellness. Through our podcast, we'll dive into topics ranging from herbal materia medicas, clinical herbalism, sharing insights, interviews, tips, and wisdom to inspire and educate our listeners. Hi, this is Demetria Clark, the director of Heart of Herbs Herbal School, and today I am speaking with Mason Hutchison. Did I say that right?
Yep, right on the money.
The person who is behind the phenomenal website HerbRally and has been behind the scenes in my herbal career as far as like my connection to Mountain Rose and all this other stuff for like, I don't know, a gazillion years.
I'd
It
probably
feels
guess
like forever.
probably 12, 13 years maybe. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, that was
That's a
probably our
long
first
time.
communication. Yeah.
Yeah, especially in the internet years.
I know, right? It's wild to think about that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's been always been a pleasure knowing that there's honorable people on the other side of the computer when you're communicating with a company. And I will say, knowing that in just our brief interactions, just even knowing that there was someone there who cared made it really easy to like have a relationship with that company because you'll see how people tear companies down online all the time and so, we always share with our students places that we feel are safe to shop at. Nobody's perfect, right? But I do know recently there was this big thing with cinnamon, and I emailed them and was like, can you just share with me so I can share with my students about your quality control? Because I told them, but they want to hear it from you. And they like got back to me like it seemed like in an hour.
That's cool.
So, and I know that your long time there probably is part of the reason why the people that you trained, you came up behind you and are working where you were at, like helped build that. This is how we work with integrity. So thank you.
Absolutely. We try to do our part, and I'm not no longer with Mountain Rose Herbs, of course, but I definitely cherish the years I spent there, and I can attest to their quality control and sourcing and all that. Like you said, no business is perfect, but they definitely do their best, and they try to improve where they can. They try to take feedback very seriously. So yeah, I would definitely recommend Mountain Rose Herbs to this day. We actually have a very tight knit relationship with them. We just did an unboxing video for them on YouTube, and so it's always a lot of fun to interact with our old homies at Mountain Rose Herbs because, of course, Amanda, my wife and co-owner of HerbRally, also used to work there, and that's actually where we met.
Oh, so it was a love connection too.
It was. That's right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the best things come from the best things, which then make the best.
Amen.
So, like leave it to me to like go crazy on the language skill. But so that's awesome. So what I will be interviewing your wife, and she's a phenomenal artist. So if anyone wants to hop over to HerbRally and of course look at everything that you guys do there, her unique am I going to that's her stamp, right? The design and the way that she has a lot to do with that, right?
Yeah, so going back to like our Mountain Rose Herbs days, I was the events person, I was in marketing, and then she did a lot of the creative at Mountain Rose Herbs. So she primarily focused around photography, but she's definitely an illustrator, graphic artist, videographer, all the above. And basically what we did was we took our skill sets over to taking HerbRally full time. And so to this day, her contribution to HerbRally is, yeah, all of the photography, videography, and so forth. So anything artistic related, that's her realm.
That's cool.
Yeah,
So when you guys go and look, because I'm telling people to go, so they should go, right?
I
But
do.
anyways, because no one listens to me, not even my children. But when you go over and take a look at the feel and the vibe, and I think that's really important. And so why one of the reasons why I am interviewing Mason is because I want to share with our students and our listeners the diversity of herbal careers, that it
Mm,
isn't just being a clinical herbalist or making tinctures, it's also artistry and education and connection. And HerbRally is all about connection. You can just tell because it gives you like a nice big hug. I don't get to spend enough time
that's
there,
cool.
but you know right away that connection's important. So what was your inspiration
Mm.
for HerbRally? Like what started your heart down this path?
I love the concept of your show, Demetria, because you're right. There's so many different ways to make a living. In my early years, I thought that I was going to be a dietitian, which kind of is akin to being a clinical herbalist of sorts. But I knew as I was going down my herbal path, if you will, that my strengths really lied in building community. And as the events and outreach person for Mountain Rose Herbs, kind of touching back on that again, I was looking for a website that listed all of the herbalism events that happen in the United States, the world, virtually, etc. And I would find bits and pieces of different websites that kind of listed some herbalism events, but not others, like maybe the major herbal conferences that were happening around the country. But what I was interested in was the herb walk happening in the local neighborhood or the herb talk happening at the local library and so forth. Because I've been to these talks, I've been on these plant walks and whatnot. And so I was like, no one has created this website. And then I thought, do I have the audacity to create this thing that I wish to see in the world? And it took me probably a year of having it live in my head before I actually executed and took the first step. First of all, it's like coming up with a name for your business. I was like, oh, this is going to be herbalevents.com or something like that. And I didn't really want to pigeonhole myself. And then for whatever reason, the name HerbRally came to mind. I was like, okay, cool. And then I stuck with that name for about a year. And then finally I decided to execute and actually purchase a domain online and then just start listing these events. And it kind of just blossomed from there.
Well, it's a beautiful site, and I'm
Thank
glad
you.
you did that. And I love the name because I've always secretly wanted to do like a European rally
Uh-huh.
drive or like one through Mexico. Like in my head, like I would be really good at this. Probably I wouldn't be, but in my head, I am amazing. Like
Sure.
I just always
You're
wanted,
amazing.
the Range Rover and anyways, I digress. But when I heard the name, I was like, sweet street race, herbs, let's go, like you could do a bike rally and go to all the herbal stores in the country. Not that I bike or use a motorcycle, but whatever. I mean, in my fantasies. So I
Yeah.
always really like the name. And then the bottom of the Y is that a dandelion leaf?
It is, yeah. Good
Yeah,
eye.
okay, cool.
Yep.
That's what I always thought, but I never officially asked.
Yep. Yep. It's
But so it's really great that you have that. What was some of your like you had to what were some things that you had to get out of your own way
mm,
in order to accomplish this? Like what advice would you have for someone who was like, I want an herbal outside of the box business, maybe
mm,
something people haven't seen before, like sassy herbal bumper stickers or
yeah, totally.
whatever, right? Like, what were some of the things that you had to tell yourself? Like, how did you psych yourself into saying, okay, I'm going to take this jump from security and bet all on myself and go?
That's such a good question. I guess I have a few answers. Um, First, just kind of starting with the mental aspect. Uh, it was incredibly difficult for me to get this going. I didn't believe in myself. I thought, who am I to start a business? I always fancied myself a behind the scenes type of person. And then if I'm putting a business out into the world, I'm essentially putting myself out there on the internet in this particular way. And I would say I've struggled with like depression and low self-esteem and heavy doubt about myself and my capabilities. And so the way I do a lot of things when I'm trying something new or trying to put myself out there, I start with incredibly small and I set very long-term goals. So that gave me the ability to kind of like chunk it in smaller segments and not have to rush in to be like the best website of all time immediately or something like that. So I really think making bite-sized, really small goals over the long course of time was incredibly helpful. Another thing I'll say is you kind of just have to do it, and it sounds incredibly cliche, but growing up very shy, bashful kid with struggling with certain mental health problems, it was I would just say you have to just kind of get yourself in the position where there's no turning back. You have to jump off the diving board. You have to, I don't know. I feel like that I'm like struggling to say this right now for some reason. I don't really know why, other than I think I'm struggling with saying it because it feels kind of cliche, but like everyone's heard this before.
Cliches are there's a reason why we have cliches, right?
Right. And I feel if I could do it. Oh yeah. So people see Mason on the outside and they think, oh, he's this gregarious, quasi charismatic. Oh yeah, social connector type of guy. And I wasn't always like that. I had to work at it. I had to slowly, incrementally improve my social skills, and because I wanted to talk to people, I wanted to be out there. It just took a lot to get over. So yeah, I mean, with that in mind, slow, incremental goals that you could accomplish, so you could build that confidence and momentum, and then just doing it. If you have this idea, like you said, fun herbal bumper stickers or something like that, you just feel it inside of you. You're like, it keeps coming back to you. You're dreaming about it. You're just like, I have to do this. And that's kind of how HerbRally was for me. I was like, I was obsessed with this idea, and I felt like if I wasn't doing it, I was doing a disservice to my soul and my evolution as a human. I don't know if you have any comments on that, because I did have something to bring up as far as like the monetary side of things too, but did you have any feedback on any of that, Demetria?
The Heart of Herbs Herbal School podcast.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing so openly and honestly. I know for myself, it's been years before I could even, do anything like this. It's always been really hard for me. I always feel like I always tell my students, of course, I have to tell myself this also. No one can talk shit about you better than you. So why do we even, it's like, why do we even let anyone else's voice come in? Because we can look in the mirror and be like, double chin's looking good today, or whatever, right? Like, so it's one of those things that I think we don't talk about enough, especially in the world that you and I work in.
Sure.
Because there is so much pressure to be and I'm like, ooh. I'm the tripping, falling over, tugging my, leggings up, picking my nose, like not okay.
You keep it real.
Like I am not like that. And so I would just see all of these people and I'd be like, I don't belong here. And then I realized after maybe 5-6 years of doing it, I didn't belong there.
Yeah.
But I belong with where I am and with my people and my, so, and just, always like the fact that you shared your vulnerabilities and your fears. We all have them. We just, and every industry I'm sure has their own, but there's such this gotta be perfect in this herbal or alternative health world. And it's like, I'd rather not be a perfect human being and just go with it versus, so I'm glad that you shared that. And I'm glad that you shared that so openly, because I think a lot of students are going to hear this and be like, okay, so, all right, Mason knows what I mean when I feel this way or whatever. And they're going to be drawn to that because your honesty and your authenticity. And I know everyone's like authentic these few years, right?
Yeah.
But it's there on your site.
Yeah. On
the topics that you cover and stuff. And then you were going to talk about money, and money is like one of my favorite subjects. I haven't turned my heat on yet because I'm like,
Save
I'm
that
gonna
money.
beat the heat bill this
That's
year.
right.
But the money part's hard.
Yeah.
So what do you have to share about that? Or what would you like to share about that? You don't have to share anything if it's nothing you want to talk about.
Yeah, I do want to get into that, but just something you said there sparked something else that I wanted to highlight. You were talking about being perfect in, say, the herbal community or appearing this way, but the reason we love Demetria is because you are so, to use the cliche, authentically you, and you're not scared to share that too, which we all appreciate. And one thing I want to point out is one of the reasons that I love working on HerbRally so much is I get it to be kind of a reflection of my offering my work to the world along with Amanda's as well. And just kind of a little instance of that is a lot of, say, herbal companies will use, say, folk music or banjo music or whatnot. And we have two different HerbRally theme songs for our different podcasts, and they're both hip hop. I'm a big hip hop fan, so I wanted to put it out there, be like, this is a representation of what we like. So I want to create a hip hop theme song of sorts. And I'm just really glad that I do that, because then it just becomes more enjoyable to put your work out there in the world. But I just wanted to highlight that. Be yourself as much as you possibly can. You'll have a lot more fun doing it. As far as the money side of thing goes, the initial question that you answered me, this was another thing that kind of popped in my head, was when I first started HerbRally, I said I wanted it to be my full-time gig, but I gave myself 10 years of runway. So working at Mountain Rose Herbs, the whole time in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I'm going to build this on nights and weekends in my free time, and with the goal of, after 10 years, being able to have it float or supply the income that we need, or it was just me at the time, to where I could quit my day job at Mountain Rose Herbs. And lo and behold, I actually got there in 7 years.
Because the universe said challenge accepted.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, that's like kept running through my head. You put it out there, and
yeah, exactly. And for better or for worse, sometimes it's like, oh shit, I don't have my paycheck coming every other week from Mountain Rose Herbs anymore. But at the same time, I'm so glad I did it. I don't want to die with regrets. And we'll always know now, whether it worked out or not. We're going on 3 years now being away from Mountain Rose Herbs, and so we're doing something right. HerbRally does continue to grow very modestly, but at the same time, I'm very glad that I gave myself that 10-year goal, because I never felt rushed. I was able to slowly, incrementally build and grow over time.
Oh, that's great. When you were saying that, I was like, oh, you just open the door and say, come on in.
I'm big on that.
It's so funny because I always tell my husband to be careful with his language when he manifests. I always joke that he's the stronger manifester than me, even though he always says everything that comes is from mostly the work that I do. And It's just so funny. I'm like, you gotta watch your language. Because when we moved to Virginia, he's like, I want to be closer to the kids if they need us. And no, he said when not
they need
if.
us. Yeah.
Been building barns and sheds
and they need us.
Doing all kinds of stuff at one of the kids' farms. And I'm like, you should watch your language, because we really do have so much power.
That's a fact.
The belief and the connection is, I know a lot of people giggle about, that kind of stuff, but I do think we control a lot.
Yeah.
And giving yourself that timeline really said, this is what I'm going to do. And that must have been really exhilarating when you got to your goal sooner, but probably also a little scary too, right?
It was not easy. By that point, by the 7-year mark, Amanda and I got married, and then we kind of slowly tested the waters by having her quit first. And then 2 or 3 months later, I was like, okay, I guess we're doing it. And personal finance actually plays a big role in this too. I'm a big personal finance nerd. So we made sure to have a buffer of savings in our bank account. We made sure that we were making adequate money per month in order to fund our life. And all of those things kind of play together. But even as prepared as you are, just like parenthood, who's ever ready to be parents, making that leap from day job to full-time HerbRally was definitely scary. And I still wonder, I still wonder why I did it, but honestly, I'm very glad we did make the leap.
Yeah, it's funny, like when you said that you had like your fund and your backup, and I always talk to students, I'm like, look, put your money away for taxes and get it
Yep.
an e-fund, and and I think they all think I'm goofy until
Yep.
like they start their business, and I get all these great emails that are like, guess what? I had to pay taxes this year. I'm so proud of myself. And I'm like, yes,
Yep.
because if you're not paying taxes, you're not making money. And so we always kind of have these conversations about that kind of stuff. But it is scary when you jump off and say, this is what I'm going to do. I was really fortunate because when I first started, I didn't have any other choice. It was either make money or your children aren't eating. So
Right.
but I mean, I
Totally.
always joke, but there's always a choice in there. But I wasn't leaving something steady. I was just really learning my own way. And so I think for people who are going because I can talk to like, hey, I was a stay-at-home mom and I did this and did that. And it's like people feel like that's the narrative for a lot of people. But you're like, hey, I was in a nice, steady career. You probably had a retirement plan or
Sure.
whatever. And
Yep.
and then I'm gonna jump off into the lion's den or the crocodile pond or whatever. And that's really brave. So thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that. I love hearing stories of bravery and people
Yeah.
really
Could I just add to that
themselves.
real quick story?
Yeah.
So actually, I kind of did the same thing when I made my leap to Mountain Rose Herbs. I was a dietitian aide at the hospital in Eugene, Oregon, and as I was saying before, I thought I was going to be a dietitian, so I was kind of on track to do that. And I just started really getting to herbs and herbalism right when Mountain Rose Herbs moved from Pleasant Hill, Oregon, to Eugene, my hometown. And I had a cush job. I had benefits. I was working with all my friends. I thought I was on this correct career track. And then I had a major shift in what I thought my future was going to be like. And I was like, I'm going to get a job at Mountain Rose Herbs. And I did a similar plunge to the one I recently did when we went to HerbRally by leaving my last job at the hospital to go work at Mountain Rose Herbs. And so I think a lot of times when you're doing these different drastic life changes, you could kind of get some practice in and build your confidence that way too. I haven't really thought about it until talking to you just now about how I practiced doing that leap previously with a different career change and life change.
Yeah. Wow. So so you're a jumper.
I think I am. I think I'm an all-in type of dude, and I'm all about taking calculated risks, I suppose. But most importantly, really what it comes down to is the anguish I feel if I don't pursue my dreams. As cheesy as that sounds, I really don't want to live a life where I'm not pursuing the things that I want to have in my life. That actually includes Amanda as well. That's a whole nother
So you
story.
want her in your life or you want her to pursue her dreams?
Yeah, both. But yeah, as far as like, I worked with Amanda for no, it was like 3+ years. And I was, madly in love with her for the whole time, but we were coworkers, so I didn't say anything. And then finally, when I was like, nah, I got to tell her. But yeah, so that's
I
another,
love you.
that's all, yep, in so many words.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of like love at first sight because I
Mm.
actually fell in love with my husband before I spoke with him. I just saw him from a bus in
Okay, wow.
Washington, D.C.
Who
And
dat?
then he showed up at the thing that I was at 2 hours later. It was
Mm.
a hippie alternative high school conference. I was
Okay.
15, he was 17,
Oh,
and we've been together pretty much ever since.
wow. That's
And I
amazing.
just was like, I said to the girl who was from the farm in Tennessee, I said, hey, I'm going to marry that guy. And she's looking at me like, marriage is not cool. Right. And I was like, I'm going to marry that guy. And I did. So
That's so cool.
I'm a fan of sometimes letting the wind get knocked out of you and being in love. And if you can definitely be in love for a few years without saying anything,
It was
then
rough.
you are definitely in it to win it, right?
Yep,
I went up
absolutely.
and just snagged him and grabbed him and said, hey. I think that's awesome. You
Yeah.
can tell there's a lot of love between the two of you on the website. And I think that's one of the, I don't often go to like a lot of other herbal, I work like a gazillion hours a week. So
You got your own website.
well, there's that, but it's also like sometimes, I just want to watch my Miss Marple.
That's right. That's right.
Or read a cozy cat mystery or something, right?
Yep.
But I love going there because I think the artwork and the pictures of you, I'm assuming she's taking these photos of you.
Yeah. Yep.
And the photos of the two of you together, it's just lovely. So
Thank
I
you.
will say that. I can't wait to talk to her about all that.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is that your passion is evident
Mm-hmm.
in your website. And so I think that a lot of more people are going to connect with that as they get to know you more because it's a reliable, I know the word safe space is like all over the place, but it's a safe herbal space.
Yeah.
There isn't any dickery. There
Yeah.
isn't any, people are just, they can access resources and join. And so why don't you tell us about everything that you offer? Because it's really more like an herb smorgasbord
It is. It
than
is.
a rallying, but it is a rallying point. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's a rallying
Rally.
point. But so what can people get there? Like what can they access and find out about?
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, it's expanded quite a bit over the years. As I was mentioning, it started out as a herbalism events website. We still do that. I've just added some new events today. People actually submit events, but I also subscribe to countless herbal newsletters, and I found out about events that way. So HerbRally.com/events will list all of the events that I know about, that we know about chronologically. We also sort them out by state. So you're welcome to also check it out, say HerbRally.com/events/Oregon or whatever state, but there's a button there that you could navigate to each individual state as well. We also list herbalism schools, online schools, virtual events. There's also, I want to say the next thing that we added, if we're talking chronologically, like in accordance with how HerbRally evolved, we did monographs. So we have probably 70 plus herbal monographs on there.
And they're beautiful people. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's great. And what we try to do is we really try to focus on lengthy, well-written, sometimes story-driven, but again, there's still going to be botanical uses, botany, ecology, etc. So that's herbrally.com/monographs. We kind of slowed down on adding those because we've been focusing way more on the podcast and the YouTube channel and stuff like that. We still do want to add more monographs. I'll also say this. I'm not the one writing the monographs. This is actually another really cool thing about HerbRally is we try to make everything kind of a community-driven project, if you will. So there's just tons of different authors that write these monographs over the course of the years. By the way, HerbRally started in 2015. We probably started adding the monographs around 2016 or so. But another major component of the website is the podcast, which Demetria has been on. We have a few different types of shows. We've got herbal conference recordings where you'll find sometimes even like 3-hour lectures on there. The newer series is called the Herbalist Hour, which is the one Demetria has been on. And so, yeah, we spend a lot of time producing and creating these podcast episodes that come out each and every week. There's other types of shows on there as well. Sometimes there's narrated monographs, etc. But we have, I think we're approaching 800 episodes of the podcast. So that's pretty crazy. And then
That's awesome.
And yeah, and we've been releasing new YouTube videos every day as well. So there's just hundreds and hundreds of videos on our YouTube channel. There's a couple other projects I guess I'll briefly touch on. We've got the HerbRally Schoolhouse, which is our member area. It's $10 a month. It's where we have like member only classes in there. We've got herbal community discounts. Really, it's one of the ways that the HerbRally audience is able to support our work here at HerbRally.
It's an incredible value.
Thank you.
It really is.
Thank you.
I mean, people, I'm not even trying to be like tacky salesy here.
Yeah.
It is such a great value. I mean, I don't even have time to like check it out that often with my schedule. And I find value in it every single time. honestly, it should probably be like 5 times more a month with the amount of information you have in there.
You're so
But
nice.
everyone will get mad at me, so I won't say it that way. But it is incredible. So tell us more about that. I know I interrupted you in the middle of it, but tell us more, because I really think I was actually thinking, like, is there a way like we could get like a student membership and have all of our students automatically like,
Yeah, we should
so
talk.
I was like, oh, I gotta
Yeah.
talk to my, but it's like, that's how valuable I think it is. Like, that's how
cool.
cool I think it is. So please tell people why they need to check this out.
We appreciate that. Yeah, so it's herbrally.com/schoolhouse. And basically inside of there is currently we're sitting around 70-ish classes. And again, it's from a wide range, diverse range of different herbalists teaching on a wide range of subjects in herbalism. And we actually took a couple month hiatus on adding new classes. We do plan on picking that back up soon. Where we're going to start putting them in the member area to grow the library of available classes in there. Another fun perk that sometimes people actually take us up on is members of the HerbRally Schoolhouse are able to join us live for the Herbalist Hour interviews, at least when they're done on Zoom. So that's always fun when we have members join us. They're able to interact with the guest, ask questions, and so on. There's also herbal community discounts to a couple, maybe half dozen different shops, including Mountain Rose Herbs, who we mentioned before, Oshala Farm, who we partner with quite a bit, and then some others. And yeah, we just continue to try to make it better and better, just like everything else we do at HerbRally. It's growth and improvement over time, but we really just want to provide another fun space for folks to learn herbalism, and that's kind of the gist of the HerbRally Schoolhouse, I'd say.
Oh, I love that. It's like getting to go to an herbal conference and just learn from, because I'm a huge proponent of variety of teachers. I mean, that is probably a thing all of my students leave with is, we have different teachers in our classroom who've done guest lectures, but also just like, because I think when I came up, I'm going to be 50 soon. So when I really started herbalism, there was a lot of disciple mentality shit.
Yeah, totally.
And that's such a turnoff for someone like me who's like a dork. So I was like, this isn't something I want to like, because there are people who are like ride or die for their like herbal teacher, even when they do like really goofy stuff. And I'm like, that's not good. Like, we need diversity, and we need to be able to, question and see, and having access to a resource like that for our students, and I'm sure, other school students, it's just so good because it really says, oh, yeah, my teacher said this, but you could try that. Or, like, oh, I never heard this tip before. Or, and it's just kind of like a way to really, I think, connect people a little bit more deeply with the diversity and complexity of herbalism and herbal practice. So, thank you for having that resource available, and super affordable. It's like less than a cup of coffee a month for some of these people who get unicorn coffees or whatever. I don't know, because I don't do any of that, but I know there's all kinds of fancy things out there, and this should be someone's fancy thing, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Your treat
I
to
think
yourself.
so. I'm a little biased. I will mention too, if people just want to check out behind the scenes, they're able to get a free month by using coupon code Schoolhouse30 at checkout. So that'll get you a free month, and you could check out all the classes in there and whatnot. So see if it's a good fit for you. But yeah, I definitely think it's a good value. We were trying to do that from the very beginning, try to have it be very, quote unquote affordable. Of course, that word means different things to different people. But we thought $10 a month was a reasonable price to ask for in exchange with what we're trying to provide value wise. So absolutely.
A PO box costs more than $10 a month.
There you go.
I mean, like, seriously, people.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I just think like we have to really start the amount of work that goes into what you provide.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And my big thing is, if we want herbalism to be sustainable, we need to pay ourselves and each other fairly for resources. And people will say things to me all the time like, well, your course is expensive. And I'm like, it's literally less than 10 cents a page, or, $3 a lecture,
Yeah.
or, and I mean, I don't often like say this. I usually, okay, well, if you don't want to, that's totally up to you. But when we do brass tacks and how do you justify this? And it's like, because I know how hard it is to do and maintain a huge website.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, just the stuff that people don't I know you're doing your updates and your security checks and your
Oh, yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And that whole email thing that just everybody had to go and readjust their servers and the blah. People don't realize that that's all involved too.
Yeah.
And mostly it's done in-house.
Yep.
I'm going to assume you probably handle a lot of it yourself.
I mean, literally,
that's
the
unpaid labor.
Yeah, the HerbRally team is me and Amanda. So if Amanda's doing the pretty stuff, I'm doing all that shit you were just talking about. She'll help me with some admin stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a lot of work. And so I think that what you're offering is a steal.
Thank you.
It's an absolute steal. And if you decide to raise your prices and anyone gets mad, you can tell them to come talk to me.
I'll send Demetria's way.
Yeah, I just said, I'll go kicking some ass. No, but I mean, we have right now we have access to endless information.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which means we have access to endless information.
Yep.
And half of it's just straight up baloney, and not to be mean to baloney, it's just straight up baloney. And what herbal schools do, and websites like yours that have a great teaching focus, is it helps people weed through.
That's true.
And with all this access to information, you always see people who are like, well, you don't need to study herbalism. You should just ask your grandma. Well, not everyone had that grandma. If I wanted to make moonshine, I would talk to my grandmother, okay? But that is not everyone's reality. And there's also a lot of really unsafe information out there. And it tends to run in cycles. Like everyone's now going to do some super whatever kind of cleanse or whatever, and they're very dangerous in some cases. And the schools and the education helps people not give their infant a coffee enema. Right. Right. Yeah. But you see this stuff out there. When there was a problem with Ebola, all over Pinterest was Ebola recipes. And I'm like, if you seriously could drink a tea and get rid of Ebola would be gone. Right? It's been like a conspiracy to keep everyone with Ebola, right? So the reality is good education and resources helps people become that educated resource in their community. And that is the service you're providing. Wow, what a long-winded, I just certainly love to hear myself talk. So anyways.
Well, I will just briefly comment on that. Working at Mountain Reserves, I'm incredibly thankful to have that training working in the marketing department, because we were trained to not have any sort of grandiose claims for any sort of herbal products. And then I also studied at the Columbine School of Botanical Studies, who also the teachers there were incredibly conservative as well. So I feel like I am able to weed out a lot of, like, say, quote unquote, misinformation. And most people, 99% of the people that contribute to HerbRally, I've met in person or have vetted, and I trust their teaching, because they're not saying these outlandish things online. So just to kind of touch on what you were just saying there.
No, I'm glad you shared that, because I think it's important for people to know that there's a process that you respect, and you're not just throwing information out there. It's really easy to fill pages.
Yeah. But
it's really hard to fill pages with quality, vetted, safe information. I mean, we even teach our students how to read a study, because there is all this stuff out there, and you, with your background, know how to do that. Your dietitian, studies, and, that really, probably taught you information like that. So I think that's good that people know that you also have this background of, the marketing and, Mountain Rose herbs have to stay FDA compliant.
Yep.
The FDA is not out to get you, but they are going to make sure you're not saying snort this and get rid of cancer.
Yes, exactly.
And people will be like, oh my gosh, they're coming to get me. And I'm like, they're not coming to get you. Look at your label. What are you saying? And they're like, oh, okay. So, and, I know Mountain Rose was always trying to stay on top of compliance like any other business. And so you have all this experience, which then in HerbRally, people are getting the benefit of I can't stress like this. I know this is like, beating the drum over and over, saying the same thing, but $10.
Yeah. Well,
Seriously.
that's the thing is we also have tons of free content on our YouTube and podcast. So if you can't afford the $10 a month, check us out on YouTube. We're at HerbRally. You could easily find us on all the, all of those, what do you call them? Social networks, whatnot. But it is we did price it to where we thought if people do have the means and do want to support us, that would be a nice little entryway, almost like a Patreon or something like that, where people are supporting our work by being members. And then we're trying to still, like you're saying, give them an immense value through the classes that we offer as well.
Well, it's definitely a huge value. And your YouTube productions are great. All of the content that you put out, your interviews. I wish I had time to listen to more of them. But whenever I listen to them, I'm like, it's just like an integrity thing. And I think that shows, like, people know that there's an integrity there and a passion there and a love there. And your connection, I think, is really well documented with the individuals that you talk to, and they're very open with you. And so I think that's lovely too. So people should definitely check that out.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you want to share about the work that you do with everyone?
Man, we're juggling so many projects right now. At the same time, Amanda has mandated a weekend and day off policy. So we're taking some steps back. We're more slowly integrating these things that we want to accomplish and that we're working on. I don't want to spill the beans on any of the fun projects that we have coming up. But no, this has been a blast. Love the work y'all do, Demetria.
Oh, thank you.
And would love to have you back on my show again at some point.
Anytime.
Thanks to everyone who listened this far into the episode. And just really appreciate it. Definitely check out the YouTube. Very proud of that. And it's been so much fun building that over the past couple of years, because YouTube was one of those things, again, where I was like, really, do I want to be on camera, this and that? And finally, we just said, F it. And we decided to go for it. And the YouTube channel is just doing great things right now. And so that was a long rambling way of saying, no, I don't think there's much else I'd like to add.
Well, there you go. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Where can everybody find you again?
Yep. So HerbRally.com is going to be the best place. If you ever have any feedback for me, if you know about HerbRally and you just want to say hi, you could email me, mason@HerbRally.com. Otherwise, check us out on all the socials at HerbRally. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today. And you are our first guest on this new series that we're doing about exploring the different facets of herbalism. So thank you so much for being here. It means a lot. And I can't wait, of course, to talk to Amanda about all the artsy stuff, because my first major in college was art and art history. So I just love the power art plays, and I love how artistic your guys' site is. It's just so inspiring. And so anyways, I will let you get back to your day. But thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And if there's ever anything we can do for you, please reach out. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all, for listening. And we'll talk to you soon, Demetria.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Interested in learning more? Visit heartofherbs.com and enroll using coupon code podcast to save 20%. The content provided in this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. It's always recommended to consult a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, lifestyle, or health regime, especially if you have an existing health condition. Any of the financial information and advice for starting or maintaining an herbal business is just that, information. It's not used to be a guideline on how you should run your business. Contact the appropriate professionals to help you to have a successful business.